Hello there and welcome to another training session with me, Jason Kemp from Your Life, Your Own Way, NLP and Hypnotherapy. In this session we're going to talk about emotions, where they come from. We're going to talk about this little thing called the Reticular Activating System, what that is and how it's used and what you can do with it. And we're also going to talk about this thing called the Mercedes model and how by using the Mercedes model you can improve the results which you want in your life. So first of all, the reticular activating system is a little few cells in the back of your brain there, and they're designed to bring to your mind's eye, bring to your awareness things that you pay attention to. So for example, have you ever bought a brand new car and then noticed that lots of people have got the same car, the same colour, the same brand, the same make? It's all identical stuff. Well, they were there before, but you just didn't notice them. Or you may have changed jobs and suddenly you're now a locksmith and you notice all these different types of locks that you'd never previously paid any attention to. So there's two types of thing I want you to be aware of here. First of all is what we focus on in life is what we're more likely to get more of. So if you focus on the negative things, then we generally experience more negative things in our lives. If you want to focus on the positives, then again, guess what? You get more positives in your life. So this is very, very useful to consider. So those cells are there. If you can train them how you like, and you can make them bring to your awareness the things that you want in life. So focus on the positives, and you'll get more positive information coming in. You start to look for what you're aware of. And if it's inside your awareness, then you may have some sort of control over it. So let's go back to the emotions then. So emotions, where do they come from? How are they formed? So we all know, we should know that we get our information from our five senses, our ears, our eyes, our nose and our mouth. Yeah. And in NLP language, we give these specific names. So we have visual sense, we have an auditory sense, we have a kinesthetic sense, which is the touching and feeling on the outside and on the inside. We have an olfactory sense, and we have a gustatory sense, which is taste. Okay, so they're the five. So we can hear, we can see, we can hear, we can smell, we can taste, and we can touch. So the senses come in. What happens then with all the information that comes into our senses, and there's something around 400 billion bits of information land on our senses. What happens is our brain pieces all this information together and it creates what we call reality. So our reality is formed inside our own head. So your reality is formed inside your head. Interestingly, your reality is different to the person next to you, different to somebody else's reality. And this is where sometimes, for example, if there's a police incident, the policeman will be interviewing people nearby and say, what happened? So the first person will say, well, the man wearing the blue hat ran across the road. And the second person won't even mention a blue hat. And there's a reason for this. As the information comes into our senses, we do three things. There's three filters, we call them. The first thing we do is we delete. So because there's such a huge chunk of information coming in, we delete most of it, leaving ourselves just a small, manageable amount to process. What do we delete? Well, we delete the stuff that doesn't match what we already believe to be true in some way, shape or form. And we also delete the stuff that doesn't match our reticular activating system. So as the information comes in, it gets quickly assessed. Is it in my model? Is it in my map? Does it mean something to me already? If it does, how does it integrate with that? How does it fit in? If it doesn't, it gets deleted from the mind completely. Pretty much the information's there, but it's been deleted. I'll give you an exercise in a moment to try this out on. Then we distort. So by distorting, we can change the colour, the brightness. We can imagine there were things there and there wasn't. We can take things out that were, and they're all there. And most of those last two things are deletions. But we can distort in various ways. We can change time. So yeah. And then finally, we generalise. So an example of generalisation is, you know what a door is and how the door works. But just what happened if you didn't know what a door was? And every time you found a door, you had to find how it opens and what it is and how to get through. So let's go through this little example, this little scenario. So you wake up in the morning and let's assume you're in a house. And first thing you do is you need to go to the loo, but there's this thing in the way, it's called a door, and it's your bedroom door. So you work out how to open it. There's a handle and you pull it down and pull the door towards you, and you go through the door. Well, then suddenly you find that there's another door, but this one's different to the previous door. Well, you've got to work it out again. Well, I wonder, how long would it take you to get in your car, assuming you've got a car, outside your house? How many doors have you got to work out how to open? Now, that's why we generalise. We generalise because we say it's a door. Doors generally work like this. You push it, you pull it, you twist it, you go around in a circle, and it opens. Very, very simple. So we do three things. We delete, we distort, we generalise. Okay. Then what we do is we go ahead and we create our own representation. So we represent the information to ourselves, and then from that it creates our reality. So why is this important? Well, it's important because when you want to communicate with the person next to you or somebody else you never met before, well, they've done the same thing. They've deleted, they've distorted, they've generalised. Now, we delete, distort and generalise based on things like our previous experience, our upbringing, our friends and peers and relatives, our beliefs and values. They're very important as well. And they're all used to control what gets through. So of course, we've all had different lives. Even if you live in the same house as somebody else, you've experienced different things. So you're going to have different version of reality. In fact, the version of reality you experience is pretty much unique to you. So then people get confused and they say, well, how come we've both watched a football match, but we must have a different version of that? And you're correct. You have got a different version of that. So what you need to do when you communicate with somebody, you need to try and get snippets of information and clues and cues as to what's available in there. We call it a map. So we create our own map, our own model of reality in our own heads. And that's what we live and navigate by. It's what lets us find our own house when we come home, our own car in the car park, amongst all the other black cars. So that's the thing. So you know how we get the information in. We know we process it and we do deletions, distortions, generalizations, and we know that we create our own unique version of reality, which we live by. We have to believe it exists, otherwise you've got no idea, no framework. Okay, so then we have the Mercedes model. By the way, if you find this interesting and useful, click on the link below and subscribe and follow me through and do what you got to do. They're all there. So if you want to we talk about the thing called the Mercedes model. The Mercedes model is a circle. It looks like the Mercedes logo, hence its name. And it's an NLP technique to describe how three parts of our bodies work. So we have our internal processing, our thoughts. We have our internal state, which is our feelings, our emotions on the inside. And then we have our external behaviours, which is how do we show that to the outside world. Now, Tony Robbins is a great life coach, mentor, guru in America. He proclaims that physiology first is one of his statements, which means the quickest way to change your state, your emotional state, is to change what your body's doing. So an example of that is if you was to stand now feeling rather pumped and happy, big smile on your face, then it's very difficult, almost impossible in fact, without changing your posture from this, to get to sad. In fact, try it now as an experiment with me. Stand with your feet about shoulders width apart and put a big smile on your face. Put your arms in the air, cap as Y shape, and without moving anything, feel sad. Notice that you can't do that. Now, on the same token, if you stand like a depressed person would stand, a person that's feeling depressed at that time, so you'd stand slightly slumped forward, looking down, maybe slumped shoulders, rounded corners, and allow it a few seconds to sit so you can feel that. And now, without changing anything, try to feel happy. And you can't do it. So anyway, notice how that works. We have the two things. We have the extreme of happiness and excitement, and we have down in the dumps. In fact, people's language often give us a clue as to how they are. How are you today? I'm feeling down. Really interesting. They don't use it accidentally, they use it deliberately, and it's not intentionally from them, but they've used it because it means something to the neurology. And your neurology is your wiring, it's your nervous system, it's how we are feeling things and linked together. It's a mind-body connection we have. Okay, so we have our internal thinking. What are we thinking about? We have our internal state, what we're feeling on the inside and on the outside. And we have our external behaviours. What are we doing to show that to the world? Okay. Now emotions are funny because they start off, emotions don't just jump out of a box. They start off as tiny, tiny sensations. You know, you might get pins and needles in your foot, for example. That's a sensation. Hasn't really got any meaning to it. It's just pins and needles, a tiny flutter, butterflies. They're just sensations. And then the sensations slowly turn into feelings. So you get to feel happy, you get to feel sad, you get to feel excited. And then the label and how we express it to the outside world becomes emotions. So we emote those emotions out. And that's how we show up in the outside world there. So if you change your behaviours, i.e. your body language, your physiology, do something different with it, it will automatically change your thinking process because you can't think the same. And that will go and change your feelings because if you're in a different position, you can't feel the same, which means you can't think the same. In fact, you can take that a level further. You can say, if you were to change your internal thinking process, it would change also your feelings, which would change your external behaviours. Interestingly, those three things added together equal results. Equal results and outcomes. So if you want to improve your results, change one of those three things in the circle. Everything else will follow suit. And you're going to get better results. So if you've got any questions, please feel free to drop me a tinkle, drop me an email, drop me a DM, PM, whatever you like. Just even click on the chat on the website, they're all there, or message below. So that's all fabulous stuff. So moving on then, we have internal behaviours, internal state, internal, external. Cool. Happy with that? Brilliant.